with them for about 30 minutes. We'll take questions from you guys too, but we'll be focusing on Jerry Agar and wherever it goes. Let's see here. Is it illegal to flash your lights to warn of a speed trap? Okay, to everyone who's just tuning in now, because I've just hit the big box go, which means we're now broadcasting on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. If you're watching, we're just talking here on TikTok. We got some folks that have popped in on TikTok on Instagram Live. We are waiting for our friends from News Talk 1010 to join, at which point we will be live on the air in Toronto. So always a good thing. Let me see if I've got any emails. You know what? I'll just for good measure, I'll send the producer a message. Ready when you are. Ready on Restream. Okay. Cool. Got so busy conversing here, but they usually jump in. We technically go on at 9:35, so we're still good. We are still good. So the question from Glenn was, is it legal to flash to warn of a speed trap? At night, no, because you're improperly using your high beams and could be blinding oncoming traffic. And oddly enough, you're trying to communicate with oncoming traffic. So if you're within 150 meters, that would be improper use. But my bigger problem is that you're trying to communicate where the police are so people will slow down and not get caught. And what you're actually doing is getting them to temporarily change their behavior to drive safely to avoid getting caught, and then they would resume their unsafe behavior after they pass the police officer. So what you're doing is you're contributing to unsafe roads. You are potentially getting somebody hurt or killed by not allowing the unsafe driver to be caught, issued a ticket, and change their driving behavior. That's what tickets are. They are that not so great feeling generator that might just get someone to change their behavior. Hey, if you're just tuning in, if you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I go live on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. The show's called Ask a Traffic Cop. We do this Monday to Friday from 10 to 11, but occasionally, like every other week on a Wednesday, we join up with Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010, and we cross. Paul, no, that sounds weird. We collab. We answer calls and texts from his listeners, and of course, so he jumps onto our channel, and we jump onto his. Okay, what do we got? Oh, we got some croissant army in the house. Hello. Okay. Oh, and I hear the radio coming in. Let's bring him into
investigation. Tends to be a bit more lengthy in nature, rightfully
Good morning.
So definitely an area to avoid. We've been talking about the slowdowns on the westbound side of the 401. If you're heading towards the express, I would actually avoid.
They've tuned in, but I don't know if they can hear us.
The backups continue from past the 409, pretty much all the way out towards Dixie. It's about a 25-minute jam according to our Waze maps. All express traffic is forced into the collectors. Otherwise, the East Gardner delays continue past Park Lawn. Right lane is out. That's for some ongoing maintenance problems. QEW Niagara bound past here, Ontario. They've cleared. News Talk 1010 weather. Cloudy today. The high gets up to 2. Right now, it's cloudy and -5, feeling like -11. Time saver traffic. I'm Lisa Morales. Next update at 9:45 on News Talk 1010 Toronto.
What's your housing situation, your real estate circumstance?
For you to ask questions. Mind you, we're here all the time, but it's really cool when we get to join up with the radio folks. I love radio. I don't know. Do you like radio? Do you listen to radio? I think it's pretty awesome.
Mention that I'm
trying to put them in the background. Oh, wait. Here we go.
Only deals with very expensive luxury properties, and that's not true.
No, we're still on commercial break. Okay. Let's see here. We're going to take questions. If you've got questions, an opportunity for me to plug in advance, www.trafficcop.ca. That is your opportunity to send me video, voice, or text that we can play on the show or talk about. You can, when I'm looking for questions to talk about on the radio, that's where I'm looking first. I'm also in the Q&A functionality on all the platforms, so you can ask me questions through YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook. However, if you're on Twitter, jump over to trafficcop.ca, hit the button to join one of our other platforms that allows you to communicate with us, because you can't do it on Twitter.
466 416 917 line, or go to get.
He's doing a commercial. Let me know when we're ready to go. I'm just sending a message. Let me know when you're ready to go. They must have a different person on the control today, because usually they mute the commercial. Ready to go? I've got you muted. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. If I see a cop, is it legal to high beam or hazard? So we the same question we just discussed that, Michael. Oh, okay. No worries. Okay. Okay, good. Now you got
Good employment lawyer, Lior Samfira.
more commercials. Just to news talk, if you could just mute the feed so we don't hear the radio commercials, and then bring Jerry in at 9:35, we'll be good to go, and I'll leave you in there. Oh, control room, I hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now?
I hear you now. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Sean?
No complaints here.
Good. Okay, we're coming up in about 2 minutes here.
Perfect. So if you leave me muted, so we don't hear any of the commercial break, we'll leave you, and whenever you jump in, we'll just talk to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds good. Thanks. All right. Question from Zombie. Oh, Zombie's got a question. That's a great name. We've been watching all sorts of cool stuff at home. Zombies. Well, mind you, it's like a zombie musical. What is it? What is the name of the show? I can't remember the show. I've listened to the songs too much with my kids. Anyway, do I need to remove my plate sticker, my old plate stickers, now that Ontario's moved to no plate stickers and free renewal for most vehicles? And the answer is you don't have to. I would suggest taking it off, though. If you drive into other jurisdictions that use stickers as a hint, they may pull you over to investigate. Okay. And no problem. I got that update. There's stuff going on, and there's an issue with the FAA. So, okay, no problem. Whatever we got to do, we will do. Thanks, Zach, for the update. All right, let's go here. Can we explain the point system? I'm going to make a note. We'll explain the point system at 10 o'clock. Sorry to keep you waiting for half an hour, but yeah, we won't have time to jump into it just yet. So, points. Yeah, we can discuss it. How much information do you want on points? Like, how many points to get every, to get a letter, to get a infraction, how it works for learners versus regular drivers, fully licensed drivers, because it's different. So how long points stay on your system? We can talk about it, all of it. We can talk about all of it. So we'll come back to that. I got a note down, so let's clear that off. And signal when going through a roundabout. I like roundabouts. I like roundabouts, but nobody knows how to use a roundabout. So fantastic question. Talked about it in a comment recently. So roundabout signaling, I think maybe I just talk about that with Jerry when he comes on. Okay, more Q&A questions. When can children stop using a booster? That's an easy one. We'll talk about it more later, but it's 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9" for the legal.
You're listening to Jerry Agar.
It may not be the safest.
Good to have you along. You're also listening to Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop at Traffic Services on TikTok. He is an actual traffic cop with Toronto Police Services and does a show on TikTok every day, updating people on what traffic situations are, what the law is, answering questions, and then we take the advantage of dipping into that once in a while. Sean, good morning.
Good to see you. Happy New Year. First time chatting.
Yeah, same to you. I got told that Happy New Year ran out last Friday.
No kidding.
You know what? I insist on our free speech here, Sean Shapiro.
I support it.
Okay, so this morning I was talking to John Moore and telling him that you were coming on, and he put forth a question. He said more and more he sees people, and I think he's talking about people who do Uber Eats and skip the dishes and that kind of thing. And he said they'll park where they're not supposed to, and then they put a sign on delivery. So does that cut them some slack, or how does that work?
Not on main streets. There are areas that if you have a placard and you're doing a delivery, there is an exemption. I believe it's a 10-minute delay or a period that you're given. But you can't do that on a main street, and you certainly can't do it during a rush hour route.
Okay, so the short answer is no.
It again, depends on location. So there's certain conditions, and we should get Aaron back here this year to talk about all these parking stuff, because Aaron Urquhart is the guru of parking.
I loved it the time we did the show with the three of us, and I'd love to have her back. So let's work on that.
We'll set it up.
Here's a question by text. Is touching your handheld device an infraction if it is on a stand?
Yes, you cannot use this device. It's not just a matter of holding it. You cannot use it. So if it's suction cup to your windshield, which may also be a visual distraction or obstruction, you're using it, and that is the offense. In fact, you can't even hold it not using it.
But what if I'm using it with Google Maps or Waze or something?
You can have the screen visible to you while it's mounted in GPS mode only. So you have to set it while you're legally parked, and you can then use it as a display screen for that map while you're driving. But you can't, change the address or acknowledge, potholes or whatever you want to report on Waze. That is use, and that is not covered by the exemption.
All right. Now, if I'm talking on the phone on Bluetooth, hands-free, that's okay.
Yeah, in terms of, it's mounted, it's on speakerphone, or it's on Bluetooth with a headset. You can use the phone that way, and you are given the ability to, single swipe to answer or hang up, but you can't be dialing telephone numbers. You can't be, searching your Rolodex electronically or checking emails from mom.
Here is Jeff from Erin, Ontario. Jeff, what's your question?
Good morning. Can you get a ticket for forgetting your indicator on?
For forgetting to, I don't think that there is an indicator on. Forgetting to turn it on is an offense, but forgetting to turn it off, I don't think so. I'm not aware of it. If it exists, it'll be new to me.
All right. So, hey, what if you just choose to use the hand signals out your window like they used to do before they invented the turn signal?
You are totally entitled to do that, but at nighttime that's a problem because you can't see your hand. So if you're driving during the day, using hand signals is fine. And if you're driving a right-hand vehicle, which often people are importing these, if you don't have functioning electronic light signals, you have to actually have a sign on the back that says right-hand drive. So we tell people where to look for those hand signals.
Now, if somebody's following up on something we just talked about, Sean Shapiro, somebody writes, can I touch my device to silence the Amber Alert?
It's a one button for answering, hanging up. I don't think that would be an issue if you were silencing an Amber Alert.
All right, here is Eric from Etobicoke.
Oh, hey, good morning, guys. I often heard this over the years where I've been driving, where if you're sitting at a red light and there's a gas station right next to you, you'll often see people go through the gas station to bypass the red light, like on a right-hand turn. I've been told that's illegal. Is that true or not?
Well, it's not illegal. If they have signs prohibiting it, you might be trespassing if you're not a customer. That's a different story, and that would require some enforcement. But you have to know that, especially in Toronto and in many jurisdictions, you have to come to a stop before a sidewalk, before entering the roadway. So if you don't do that, you could be charged for failing to do so. If you don't merge if you don't yield when exiting. So you may be trying to do this great drive-through, and you still have to stop. You still have to do a number of things. And if you break those rules, you could be ticketed.
But this is largely up to the gas station, the owner of the property?
Well, in terms of whether or not you're trespassing, yes. In terms of crossing onto the street, if I was a police officer enforcing that because it was a problem, I would sit on the street and wait for you to not stop when re-entering the road, and then I would pull you over for that.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate the call. Here is Ron. What do you think, Ron?
Question. The automated radar cameras, can they distinguish if there's a cluster of cars that are going through them? I'm always going below the speed limit, and they have the electronic billboard that is flashing that everything is going fast, but there's a cluster of 3 or 4 cars. Can the camera distinguish who's speeding and who isn't? Because I don't want to get a ticket because some idiot that's passing me or whatever, there's about 3 or 4 cars clustered around me that are speeding.
Okay, I got what you're saying. The ones that have a sign are generally not speed cameras. Those are just information signs to say slow down.
But there is a speed camera in that location.
Okay, Ron, let Sean finish.
In the situation of a speed camera, generally it's on a single lane or in some cases there are multi-lane systems, and yes, they can determine the fastest moving vehicle, and they're taking a series of vehicles, so they should be able to differentiate between the one that's speeding and not.
Even if they're very close and passing and everything within.
I can't speak to if they're all attached. If they're all really close, you're probably in a situation where you'd have to ask some questions in court. But it's my understanding that they are capable of identifying the individual vehicles. Those vehicles or that system is operated by the City of Toronto and each individual municipality that they're operating in, and not by the Toronto Police. So I've not had any firsthand looking at their files of how they actually operate.
All right, thanks very much. Here is Matt on the QEW. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. My question was, kind of, if I had my cell phone mounted where I'm not holding it, and I have a vehicle that has a big screen, as most new vehicles do now with GPS and all the climate control and everything on that screen, what's the difference of me not holding the phone and inputting an accident on Waze or a pothole like you mentioned previously, or being on my screen and, playing with the heated steering wheel and changing
I'm picking up what you're putting down. The deal is one is a handheld communication device, and there's a specific law that deals with it. The one that's your infotainment system would still qualify for careless driving, but would not qualify for distracted driving laws like cell phone use. So they're both potentially, or at least your heated seats and your infotainment system, you can still be charged if it's impacting your driving. You're not completely legal, but if it's safe to do so.
I drive beside an officer one day, and I'm, looking up my wife's phone number on the Rolodex here on the system that I have on my big screen. I could be charged with careless driving.
If you are not paying attention to the road, yes, you can.
Thanks very much for your call. This is a fascinating call, I think, that just came up by text. Is it illegal to give up your right-of-way, as in stop in the middle of the street to let pedestrians cross?
Is it illegal? It could be unsafe, and it really depends. And I love the word depends because it means I can say anything I want. If you're slowing down because there's a hazard and you're stopping for them because they're already on the road and you want to avoid hitting them, sure. If you see someone waiting at a crosswalk and you stop for them, that's legal. That's what you're supposed to do. If you're interrupting traffic and it's not appropriate, you could be interfering with the flow of traffic, and there could be a reason to pull you over and have a discussion. You could also cause a collision.
Yeah, there's a really fascinating case going on right now of a guy who was in a Ford F-150 truck, and he was coming around a curve, and he saw some ducks on the road, and he didn't want to hit the ducks, and so he went over to the other lane. He hit a motorcycle rider and killed the motorcyclist. And unfortunately, in a situation like that, this guy's in serious trouble. And unfortunately, if it's a choice between hitting the motorcycle in the opposite lane and going over the ducks, you got to go over the ducks.
Absolutely. Human life comes first. And I remember when I was 15 years old and took the in-class training at Young Drivers of Canada, it was you take the animal out, you don't take the person out. And that's not changed.
Somebody wrote in and asked, based on our conversation, ask a teenager if they know what a Rolodex is.
I said it knowing that would trigger somebody.
All right. Here's what we're going to do, Sean. I mean, you're going to continue with your TikTok show here while we take a break and check traffic. But I'm also going to take a couple of minutes after this break here to check up on what's going on at the airport, because there are flight problems in the United States, and that causes problems all over the world, including at Pearson, where they have their share of problems. So we're going to do all of that. But then I want to come back to you for at least the last number of minutes of the hour, if that'll all work for you.
Absolutely. We'll be hanging out waiting for you.
All right, then. So we'll still take your questions coming up, but we'll check on what's going on at the airport as well on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Okay, good.
9:45. News Talk 10 time saver traffic.
Well, some lingering volume from the morning rush, but also
put you
some
in the
ongoing
background for a
issues.
second. I'm asked Zach to mute the feed so we can jump into some questions in the meantime. So let's go back to the booster question. Or actually, wait. Let me see if there's something. If the booster question was answered sufficiently, let me know. If you want to know more about boosters, let me know. If you're just tuning in and you're like, "Who is this guy?" My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every day, Monday to Friday, from 10 to 11. And what do we do? Well, what do we do? Well, we answer your questions every day, unless I'm not here, because sometimes I take days off or go on vacation. And while I've taken you on vacation sometimes, I'm trying to learn to actually put the phone down. So, yeah, trying to do that balance thing, work-life balance. Good morning to Richard, by the way. I saw you pop in there on YouTube. Now, when we're talking about things, we're answering your questions. How do we get your questions? We use the Q&A functionality on TikTok and Instagram Live. That's that question mark in the box. May look different on TikTok. It used to be a question mark. Now it says interact, and I see no question mark. If you are coming in through any of the other channels like YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Facebook, you can just drop a comment into the window like my wife just did, who said, good morning to you, honey. She watches my show. She supports me. And I thank everyone for supporting me, but her support's the special support. And now she's turning red and says, stop talking about me. Okay. So if you are tuning in by Twitter, I apologize in advance. You can't actually ask questions because it doesn't work. I don't know why, but it used to and doesn't anymore. If you want to talk to us, please jump onto any one of the other platforms that we support, and you can, ask your questions. You can also use trafficop.ca. Trafficop.ca is a link to, or a URL that goes to my link tree. On my link tree, there's a button that says Ask Me a Question on Volley, and when you do that, I will actually see your question. Okay, let me open up my Volley so make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, there is a Q&A. Who could it be? Who could be on my Volley? on our volley. It's a group volley. The question is, here's a great question. I think I answered it already, but I'll share it with everybody else because I think it's a great question. If you have your GM2, that is a G class license, and an M2 means that you have a second level learner's permit for motorcycle. Do the zero tolerance alcohol laws on the M2 apply while you're driving your car? This is something that comes up every once in a while, usually in motorcycle season, but it's a great question. If you have your full G, and you're over the age of 21, meaning you're 22 or older, you're allowed to have some alcohol in your system, although we always suggest zero BAC is the way to go. You can have a BAC over zero, but under the legal limits for driving and whatnot. But when you're driving with an M2, you have a zero BAC requirement, a condition, but that only applies while you're operating a motorcycle or vehicle that's covered under the M series, so trike or whatnot. Okay, let's see if. Okay, good. They put me on mute, so I can leave them. That way, we won't have them trying to figure out why we're not responding to them because I had them muted, but I hear them now. Thanks, Zach. Okay, what is this? Someone sent me a YouTube video. Michael sent me a YouTube video, and I can't look at it right now. So sorry, Michael. I'll check it out later. Let's go into Q&A. Are you allowed to have purple headlights? That's Mr. Fluffy it's Mind Fluffy who wants to know. And the answer is you cannot have purple headlights. The only colors under the HTA permitted to be projected out the front of your vehicle are yellow and white. Amber being yellow and white. Is amber yellow? Is yellow amber? But at the end of the day, purple, not okay. And that covers, you can't have fog lights that are purple. You cannot project purple light forward. There are certain exemptions, like, for instance, you can have a bus. Buses can have a blue light, but they have an exemption for that. Are there going to be any station open houses this year? Danny wants to know. I don't know. The doors open. I wonder if we do anything with that. I don't know, but it's a good question. Let me make a note. Doors open. Doors open. Okay, or is it open doors? Doors open. Open doors. I don't know. Okay, back to the Q&A. If you got questions, we've got answers. That's what we're here for. Drop us a question if you're watching. Oh, I forgot to put the Jerry Agar screen. Let us on YouTube. I have a great thing with a telephone number. If you want to call into the show, 416-872-1010 or text 71010 to ask Jerry to ask me a question. Get everybody involved in the program. I'm visiting Toronto soon. Anywhere I should go? So many good places to eat and see. You can travel the world just by traveling within Toronto. We're an amazing city, and this will have to be a video or a discussion on VoiceOver Cop, my other channel, because I can't spend the time on it right now. Only because it's not traffic. It's not traffic related. Hey, Zach.
Problems with the airlines in the United States. That causes problems at airports all around the world.
Oh, I still got Jerry, so I'm going to put him back in the background because this is not...
Specialist Phil Dirty. Good morning, Phil.
Yeah, he's talking about airline stuff, so we're going to mute him again. I'm just going to ask Zach, please message when ready. Why can't I type? 20 seconds lead. Okay. Let's see. I saw a funeral procession run a red light. Is this legal? I'm assuming you're asking that because it cut you off. If a funeral procession, if they have a police escort and police officers controlling the intersection, can absolutely go through those lights because they're being controlled and directed by police. However, we do not have the ability, or they do not have the ability of simply going through lights. That would be against the law. They have no authority without the police doing it for them. What do we have here? Okay, let me just remove this. Somebody from Twitch who's putting up commands. What do we have here? Everyone tells me it's okay to go 10 over. Is it true? What they're telling you is it's unlikely that you'll be pulled over going 10 over. Is it legal? Well, no. Now, if you're doing 10 over in a 40, you're probably getting pulled over. 10 over in a 30, you're absolutely getting pulled over. So what they're doing is giving you really bad advice. Speeding is against the law. It's unsafe. Don't do it. Let's see here. Aura says, "Hi, sir. How are you? I'm a G1 learner, and my brother have more than 4 years driving experience, so can I drive with him instead of the driving instructor?" If your brother has in the bottom right-hand corner of his Ontario license 4 dots vertically arranged beside the mini-me photo, then yes, they can supervise you. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a driving instructor. You will inherit some bad habits if you simply use them as their instructor. And they can't take you on the highway. They are not a driving instructor, so you can't use any highway with a speed limit over 80. You'll need a licensed driving instructor for that purpose. Okay, let's see. So I hope that answers your questions. If you got more, ask. What is this? Let's go back into the Q&A. I'm just reading up on questions. I'm reading questions that are in the Q&A functionality. Oh, coming back to you. Here we go.
Somebody asks a question. If my grandmother has a disabled parking sign, is it okay to move that sign over to my car if she's with me?
The answer is yes. That sign is the identifier when they're using it in their vehicle. Now, if you drop off your grandmother at the door, you can't then go drive by yourself and park in a accessible parking spot. That is only if they are in the vehicle at that moment.
All right. Here is because the permit follows the person.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Here is Kevon, the Stockyards. What's your question?
Hey, good morning. So say you're at a 4-way intersection and you're first in line and there's a fire truck behind you or any first responder and they have their license sirens going and they want to get through. You're first in line. What do you do in that situation?
You don't move because we're going to drive into oncoming traffic to go around you. There's no authority for you to go through or do anything. Now, if they're behind you honking and telling you to get out of the way, make the right and get out of the way. But generally speaking, don't move or pull to the side.
But like, what if you're in the middle of a 3-lane, like a 3-lane road, and you can't?
So not a stop sign. You're talking about an intersection. Again, we're looking far off into the future. So as we're approaching an intersection, we are making these plans well in advance. If I was approaching on a multi-lane street, I would be going into oncoming traffic to avoid any stop traffic. But you cannot go through the red. The only thing you could do if you were really in a situation where there's the vehicle right behind you is make a right turn. But if you're in the middle of 3 lanes, that's going to be an unsafe maneuver. We're probably just going to wait until the light changes and then activate our lights.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, in other words, we're all trying to make the best of the situation as best we can. Sometimes you can't move.
And that's it. And at the end of the day, 30 seconds is not going to make or break it. We want to do the thing that's most safe, and that can sometimes mean waiting.
Here is Walter from Barrie. What's your question, Walter?
Oh, hi. Sometimes you see construction machinery, like, say, a backhoe driving down the road. Is that legal?
Construction equipment and road building equipment can absolutely be used on the road. They have to have a slow-moving placard on the back of the vehicle, but there are situations when that is legal. It can't be a daily driver. It's being used in conjunction with work being done on the road.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's like you can't drive your backhoe to work every day.
Although there was a gentleman in Richmond Hill many, many moons ago who could not be licensed, and my understanding was he did drive a tractor to and from home.
Do you know who George Jones was?
The name does not ring a bell.
Okay, legendary country music singer, legendary drinker, and he had his license taken away. So he drove the lawnmower to the liquor store.
Not legal. That would be against the law. And you can still be charged with impaired operation driving a lawnmower, by the way.
Okay, even on your own yard.
Even on your own yard, it's a motor vehicle and would still qualify. The only thing that's electric that you could be operating without charges for impaired driving is an electric wheelchair. Even a mobility scooter would be charges available for impaired operation.
Somebody writes in, my wife will be stopped in Brantford, was stopped by Brantford police because she passed him. He didn't have his lights on, wasn't going to a call in that regard. I passed a police officer recently, Sean, because I was going the speed limit and he wasn't. He was going slower, so I passed him.
There's no law saying you cannot pass a police officer. However, if you pass a police officer while they are speeding, that's probably a problem. They're legally permitted to exceed the speed limit. You're not. But passing a vehicle that happens to have police markings on it isn't automatically a stop.
If you're a police officer, well, you are a police officer, and if you're speeding, do you have to flip your lights on?
I don't. In fact, it's actually safer for us in most cases not to activate our equipment because drivers do the darndest things. We've had people stop directly in front of us, and then we can't get to where we're going. So considering the majority of traffic is already doing something over the speed limit, and there's some confusion and panic that sets in when the lights and sirens are on, unless we absolutely have to activate those, we'll leave them off. Also, when we're approaching certain scenes like a break-in, we don't want to alert the bad guy that we're there. We want to surprise them and catch them.
Here is Stuart from Toronto.
Hi, good morning. If I get pulled over by the police, do I need, they ask for insurance and registration documents, do I have to show them an actual piece of paper, or can I just pull up on my cell phone, PDF or whatnot, or an email?
So if we're talking about license, it's the actual card. If we're talking about the registration, the ownership and plate portion, that can be the color original or a true copy, a photocopy of both the front and back of the document. And for insurance, there's recently been a change that now allows you to show an electronic copy by way of an app provided by the company. Otherwise, the pink card is still acceptable.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks, Stuart. You know what I did, Sean? I printed out a news story and also my receipt for my license tag because I drive frequently in the United States, and I thought I'm going to get pulled over by a cop who's going to say, your license tag isn't up to speed, and I'm going to say, you won't believe what we do in Ontario.
Well, this is new, and we're not the only jurisdiction that does this no sticker business. Now, I totally agree with you. Having an article copy and having a copy of the receipt when you renewed is a great thing because down south, very often they're looking for what they are used to seeing on Ontario plates, which is that sticker. Also, they may not have the ability of checking to make sure it's up to date. So, best thing is to absolutely have that opportunity to educate them.
All right, Sean Shapiro at Traffic Services on TikTok and from time to time with us. Have a good day, Sean. Thanks very much.
You too, and you can also get me at trafficcop.ca.
All right, this is the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Awesome. We are done there, and we say goodbye to Jerry for a couple of weeks. You know what? I really enjoy hanging out with him, not only because on the radio, but he's a really nice guy. Not everybody agrees with me. But I like him a lot. So we've hooked up to grab a bite now and again, and he's a good guy. Okay. Rolls wants to know. See, I remember you. Remember your Rolls. The funniest excuse to get out of a ticket. I've been asked this on occasion. My answer is, at least the funniest one that I think is, that they didn't want their car to dry with spots after they got a car wash, so that's why they were speeding. There's ones that are funnier that I've heard as jokes, but that's actually one I've heard. Let's see here. Why don't they ticket LED lights? It's distracting because LED lights aren't illegal. Now, it depends on what we're talking about. There are LED lights that are illegal, but it depends on if they're installed correctly. Truly, a good headlighting system that is factory should not be a headlighting or a distracting. It should be a focused bulb designed and approved for road use. If you have something that's aftermarket, you bought it, online, and it may not be DOT approved, that could be a different story. You get arrested if forgot to go to court for ticket. Do you get arrested? They could have a bench summons. Depends on the offense. Generally speaking, you're just going to have a situation where you are found guilty in your absence, and they will just not allow you to renew your license. They're not going to arrest you for it. If you were involved in a more serious offense that required you to attend court, let's say you were stunt driving and you don't go to court, then they could turn around and issue a bench summons. So, or like a bench warrant where they will tell you to come to court. And that would involve you getting arrested and brought in. Can you use a 6-point harness in a street car? A street car? Like one that runs across the tracks in Toronto? Or you mean a car that's licensed for the road? I think that's what you're talking about. I'm just being a jerk. But the deal is no. If it's not a factory harness, you can't use it. You don't want to use it. It doesn't look cool. It isn't designed for road use. You need a pit crew to strap you into that seat to the level of tension that is required. You have to be one with the seat. You have to have no move, no freedom. Additionally, you need to be wearing a Hans device and a helmet with a Hans device, and that all goes together. Like you just don't wear a 6-point harness. It's meant for the track and the track alone. Also, most vehicles that have that would also have a a roll cage. Roll cage isn't safe for the road. Those things would get you taken off the road. Now, if you did have a 6-point harness and you wanted to wear it, you could, but only if you were wearing it in conjunction with the OEM seatbelt, and you'd look not cool at all. Can a police officer speed without their lights? Yes, we just answered that on the radio. What do we have here? Can you get pulled over for waving hi to police? You might, but probably because they want to say hi back. No, it's not against the law to wave to a police officer. That is perfectly legitimate. What is this? A guy in Thunder Bay got escorted by police to scrap his riding lawnmower that he illegally drove as a daily driver. No kidding. All right. Can you be charged for impaired on a bicycle? This is a recent conversation we've had. And the answer is no. You can on an e-bike because under the Criminal Code of Canada, an e-bike qualifies as a motor vehicle because it is a motor vehicle. The only reason that it's not a motor vehicle for daily driving is because the legislation has given it magical powers to call it a bicycle. But a pedal bicycle that is bereft of electric power would not be something that qualifies under the criminal code. So things that are good to know. Is it a good idea? Could you get killed? Is it a bad plan? Yeah, it's dangerous. But is it illegal? No. And for a while we were discussing back and forth because someone in a canoe was recently charged and convicted for impaired operation because they were involved. They were out with a child while they were impaired and the child died as a result of their operation. So there are situations where a canoe, although not powered by an engine or motor, is still impaired, but that's a vessel under other jurisdiction. Anyway, moving along. Bicycle, no. Somebody asked me a question. What was the question I saw pop up? Perfect opportunity to segue as I have a mental moment. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service. This is Ask a Traffic Cop. It's that show on the internet where we get to ask or get to answer your questions about traffic, police, and stuff. So if you've got questions, we generally have the answers. The show, which is now officially in our regular time after 10 o'clock, is a show that goes from Monday to Friday from 10 to 11. But occasionally we join Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010 and get to talk to his audience. Now, something I do at 10 o'clock is I always start off, when I have the information available, with where the Vision Zero enforcement team is. And being that it's 10 o'clock, we're going to do that right now. What is the Vision Zero enforcement team? They are a dedicated group of officers who are focused on making the streets safer for everybody. And I should say streets, roads, the community, but it's from drivers. It's making vulnerable road users safer by way of, changing driver behavior. What do they look for? They look for drivers who choose to engage in behavior that's known to lead to serious injury and death on our roads. They're looking for speeders, aggressive drivers, distracted drivers, impaired drivers, that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you have a license plate light out, you might get pulled over, but they're not focused on that. They're looking for the people who are doing dangerous stuff. Where are they today? Well, today being the 11th of January, they are located or focusing their efforts on 32 Division and 33 Division. What does that mean to somebody who has no idea where those divisions are? Well, it's the communities, the neighborhoods of Downsview, Willowdale, Newtonbrook, Bathurst Manor, Parkwood, Stonalda, Bayview Village, York Mills. Those are just some of the neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. So, if you're driving through there and you're not being safe, expect to get pulled over and charged. They don't give warnings, no hugs, they give tickets. Thank you, by the way, to them for being out there. I like the work you're doing. You're doing a good job. Jacob says, good morning. Good morning, Jacob. Chase says, the electronic insurance card must be a downloadable product and must include capability for email or transfer of the card to law enforcement or by other parties borrowing the vehicle. Interesting. I still like the piece of paper. It's folded up in my wallet. I don't have any problem with that. But technology is coming. Things are changing, and that's exactly the right verbiage. Where'd you get that, Chase? It's good stuff to know. Chase is one of our regular participants. He's not just a viewer. He has some of the best questions ever. Okay. Where did he go? He's going for... Jacob's going to his first psych class of second semester. Very nice. Good luck to you. He says, wish me luck. Good luck. Killer Draconis popping in with greetings and salutations. Good day, sir. How old can you drive electric scooter? How old can you... So an electric scooter, if it qualifies as a motor vehicle, is a driver's license age. You have to have your motorcycle license. If you're talking about an e-bike, you must be 16 years old. If you're talking about an e-kick scooter, I believe it's 14 years old with a helmet. There's a whole bunch of stipulations, and there's depends attached to all of this because it depends on how much power it has, how much whether it qualifies under the pilot. If the jurisdiction you're in allows for it, like Toronto, you can't have any e-kick scooters. E-kick scooters are prohibited. But if you're in Mississauga, they're permitted. But then you have to be 14 with a helmet and so on and so forth. E-kick scooters can't go more than 24 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. E-bikes cannot exceed 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. There's other requirements, but that's just some of them. Let's see here. We got a question from John Woodstrom. Let's see here. Let's see what he's got to say. This is using Volley app. It allows you to send me video, voice, or text. And when I get voice, I get to play it on the show.
Morning, Sean. I was behind a vehicle on the way into work this morning, and they modified their rear signal lights to be bright white. I was wondering if that was legal.
Okay, fantastic question and really annoying car, isn't it? The answer is no, it's not legal to have white turn signals. You can only project amber or red to the rear. So if you have white turn signals, you are breaking the law and can be charged. But it's a great question. Sorry that you had to experience that. That's really annoying. Today I was actually behind a vehicle as I left my house, got onto the main road, and then they had one of their red covers, like the red actual plastic housing was damaged, and beneath the red housing was a clear housing, so a portion of the rear tail light was white. So was it the same vehicle? No, the yours was modified. Anyway, thanks for sending that voice, Volley. I like Volley. Okay. If there is a traffic collision, I changed it, they said accident, I'm saying collision, happened between the border of Toronto and York region, who is responding? That's a really great question. And the answer is Toronto. We own Steels for the purposes of collision response and reporting. The entire width of Steels, which is the border, is Toronto jurisdiction. Now, I can tell you that York Regional Police have attended to collisions that I've investigated on that border because they're awesome people, but not because they're required to. They very often will jump in and do stuff, but it is technically a Toronto collision. Richard says, so it seems that the e-kick scooters are governed by municipal bylaws. No, it's a provincial pilot under the HTA and the MTO, but it is an opt-in situation. So the law was put into place, and then each jurisdiction had to opt in as opposed to opt out. So each jurisdiction decides if they want it in their area. What we got here? What is the exact law about underglow lights? The exact law is it's not 1990. I was saying 1984 before, but it turns out late 80s, early 90s when they were popular. They're not so popular anymore. The deal is there's no specific law governing their use. However, there are other laws which basically cover it. Essentially, you cannot project light in any direction that is other than what is permitted. So front, you can't project anything other than white or amber. To the rear, amber or red, which means that underglow could violate those rules. If it's properly installed and the bulbs aren't visible and it is only reflecting from the ground, that's okay. But avoid anything blinking because flashing red light, intermittent flashes of red light, illegal. I suspect tampering on a vehicle. What is this? This is part of a multi-question thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where we're going here, but they suspect it. Anna suspects it. I want to know more. Is it true we shouldn't leave ownership in a car? I would not leave an original ownership in the car because then someone who breaks into your vehicle could forge your signature and sell the car that you own easily because forgery and theft and bad criminal stuff happens on a regular basis everywhere. Now, if we're talking about should you even have a photocopy, photocopies are totally acceptable. If you're front and back captured on that photocopy, then you can have that as an alternative, and it is great to protect you from that perspective. But when you talk about leaving information that has your address on it, I wouldn't want to do that. I carry my ownership and my insurance documents in my wallet, in my pocket. They do not stay in the car. But I also don't leave mail in my car. I don't want anyone to break into my vehicle and know where I live. And that's just me being paranoid, but I just don't want to. It's not something I want to do. So I would wholly suggest that you do the same thing. Let's see here. if you lay down on the seat but have a seatbelt. If you're laying down and driving a vehicle, you're carelessly driving, and I would charge you for that. It is unsafe to lay down while driving. You cannot see properly. And there's a number of charges that could come into play, but careless is my favorite. I think that would be the easiest one to do, to lay and successfully prosecute. Why in the UK you can't pass someone from the left? We are not in the UK. I am in Ontario, Canada, not the United Kingdom, and I don't know why they have rules like that. I can tell you that there are rules about passing on the right in Ontario, and it may be in other jurisdictions too. And those laws are really for unsafe passing or passing on two-lane roads where you need to use the shoulder because somebody. So there's situations where that's permissible, and I imagine the UK situation is very similar. I just can't speak to their laws because I don't know them. Let's see here. Are polygraphs admissible in court in Canada? I believe they are not admissible in court. I've never had a situation using one. In fact, Ontario doesn't even use them for policing. Well, we do have a polygraph unit. There are reasons to use polygraph, but they're not. I don't believe that they are court admissible. Other jurisdictions in Canada require polygraph tests for hiring. Ontario does not. Can I get a ticket for factory loud exhaust? Yes, you can. Loud unnecessary noise is unnecessary, and you can be charged for unnecessarily creating noise. And in terms of, exhaust, it could be a factory exhaust that has a defect, which causes noise as well. But it could be behavior. More often than not, it's behavior. Someone revving a crappy exhaust can make a lot of noise. Someone revving an expensive exhaust can make a lot of noise. Both will result in charges. Well, if I'm there. Or any officer who's paying attention to that sort of thing. What is this? Can a driver be charged for hitting a pedestrian? Really? That's a question? Yeah. You cannot hit a pedestrian with a car. You cannot hit them with a stick. You cannot hit them in a tree. I'm trying to go all Dr. Zeus here. But yeah, obviously you can be charged for hitting a pedestrian. You're not allowed to hit pedestrians. Don't hit pedestrians. Don't hit cyclists. Don't hit skateboarders. Don't hit anybody. Can you become can you become an officer if you have a record? It's possible in certain circumstances where minor childhood offenses could be excused depending on the individual situation. It's happened. Usually you need a pardon or something to that effect. So it might qualify, or you might qualify, but you might not. Speak to a recruiter if you're interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service. Those who have, histories with the law or not, go check it out, www.tps.ca/careers. I say those are not, because if you were 15 or 16 and you got into a fight or something and you've got a clean record ever since and there's no issue, then it may not be an issue. Don't count yourself out. Let the recruiters tell you that you don't have a chance or that you do. We need good people, and you may have learned that lesson and be a good candidate for policing. What else? Driving record. If you have a really bad driving record, that might prevent you from becoming a member of the Toronto Police or any police service. If you can't follow the rules, you certainly aren't going to be asked to go enforce them. So things to think about. Let's see here. Unit ownership until ownership replaced. What are we talking about? Jess Happy. If ownership is stolen, can you drive without it? I hope this is why you don't leave ownerships in motor vehicles. That's why you take photocopies. Can you drive it? Well, technically, you should not drive without your ownership because you must surrender it. But if you're driving to go get it replaced, like driving to the MTO, no one's going to, it's a reasonable thing. You shouldn't have to take a bus to go get your ownership replaced. That being said, have multiple copies, have photocopies, have pictures of it in your car. Have alternate means of producing that information. But the only way legally you can produce it right now is photocopy of the original, which has both sides, or the original itself. Are high-flow cats illegal? If the high-flow cats are meeting the standards required by law, then they're legal. If they're illegal, they're illegal. It depends on what you're putting in. High-flow it can be legal, but I can't give you a blanket statement that gives you permission because what you're talking about may be not legal. It depends. Can I teach my wife car? What? Can I teach my wife car G1? She have G. Oh, okay. So you have your full G. She has a G1. If you have 4 years experience, From the time you got your G2 onward, you're okay. The real indicator is the 4 dots vertically arranged to the left of the bottom right corner of your license. Basically, that little mini-me of yourself, that little small photo in the bottom right-hand corner. On the left-hand side of that, look for 4 dots. That would be the indicator that you can be a qualified supervising driver, or G. Can you get asked for ID while parked and drinking? You can be arrested for being parked and drinking. Yes, you're not allowed to drink alcohol in a motor vehicle. Oh, drinking coffee? Sorry, the emoji, they just saw the drinking. So if you're drinking coffee, and what are you being asked for ID for? You're parked legally? Where? It depends. If you're on private property, that's not a reason to identify you. I'd need to know more, because there are reasons why you might be, if you're being investigated for criminal activity, potentially if you're being investigated for other reasons, I'd need to know more. Is coffee in one hand and driving get you a ticket? Not in Ontario, unless it's preventing you from driving safely, because careless driving is a thing. And yeah, someone just asked a question on Volley. Where did I put my phone? Let me open that up. So if it doesn't interfere with your ability to safely operate your vehicle, drinking a coffee isn't a problem. I do it all the time. But, driving instructors will tell you not to. What is it? What is this? This is horrible, says Chase. But if someone wants to avoid a phone ticket, couldn't they call 911 at a traffic stop and just say the officer they were reporting a drunk driver? Why would you share that this is horrible? No, the truth is we would, if you call 911, you may very well be misusing 911 and find yourself being charged for that. We were born at night, but not last night is a line that I borrow from my father-in-law, and people try all sorts of things. Just holding the phone, like we would then be, first of all, we're not just watching you for 1 second, we're watching you for a period of time. If you did something and just changed your tune, I wouldn't change my mind. We want to surrender, you get your license, request your records. Like, there's a bunch of things we could do. And remember, our 911 lines are recorded. So if there's no recording, no happening. Can I drive Dad's car, but I only have a G2? No insurance. Well, if Dad's car is not insured, I just did a video on this. You can drive your father's car if you're listed on the policy and you live with them. If you don't live with them and you're not listed on the policy, you can drive your Dad's car. But insurance companies will likely require you to be on the policy if you live with them. It's not a blanket statement. It's not an always thing. But at the same time, and of course you have to have permission of your dad. I think I covered everything there. Can you U-turn at no left turn intersection? I wouldn't do that. It's a no left turn. No, you're not doing a left turn, but there's probably a reason you can't do a left turn there. I don't know. I wouldn't do it just because I think that's an unsafe maneuver. But I don't think you're not doing a left. It's a left turn and a left turn. I have to come back to that. I cannot answer that question today because I have to think about it. And I've probably answered that 100 times with confidence, and for whatever reason, I'm questioning it. I don't think you should. If it's no left turn, I would suggest against it. There's no left turn lane to safely position yourself. The answer, you know what? Let me retract. I'm going to say it is legal because there's no sign preventing you from doing a U-turn, and a left turn is not a U-turn. At very least, you're going to have an interesting conversation in court if you're charged. What is it if it's classed? What is this? What is it classed if a horse and buggy is hit? You know what, Neffy? I have no idea. We don't have horse and buggy often, if ever, in Toronto. I've never investigated a collision in that. And Sergeant Campbell has left the building, so I can't ask. He would be the guy I'd ask about horse and buggies. Not just because he's older than I am, but he's not that much older than I am. Okay. What happens if you stop a 3-time offender for So if you stop someone who's prohibited from driving, it depends if they are suspended or if they are disqualified, because one of them will result in an arrest and one of them is just charges. Using a stealth plate to get 407 for free is absolutely illegal, and there's charges specific for that. What do we have this? Interesting questions today. Can I refuse to ID if you haven't done anything? Raj, it depends. Just because you think you're innocent, if there's an investigation, or if you're operating a motor vehicle, then you are, you're being investigated, and you're better off complaining about it afterwards rather than ending up escalating things. Because if they have a lawful authority, and I would imagine if they're asking you for identification that they would, but ask questions. You're being recorded. It's all on camera. So, ask questions. Ask for clarification as to why they're asking you. Nothing against that. But if you refuse to ID, you might escalate, and there's certain situations where you could be arrested until you could be identified. So I'm not a big proponent of playing silly games. If you've got nothing to hide, why would you hide? Is there any advice for Police Foundation students? Study, stay fit, contribute to your community. Volunteerism is key. Those are big things. Let's see what's going on here. Feels like we've been on for almost an hour. Why? Because we've been on for almost an hour. Zay Jeff says, hey, Sean, love the show. What's your favorite ticket to give? An offense that really grinds your gears and gets under your skin. Well, that's a good question. I love cell phone tickets. I like distracted driving tickets. I love speeding tickets. I just love all tickets. Any ticket that makes the road safer is one that I'm happy to issue. Stop signs were something I was big on. I don't understand why people speed or run stop signs or do things that are unsafe and put lives at risk. I don't really care about license plate covers and license plate lights. Will I issue them? Yeah. But is that the focus of what I would do when I was on the road? No. I want the big stuff. I also have an issue with people who don't renew. Well, it used to be renew your plates and pay the fees, because if I got to pay them, you got to pay them too. Okay. I have to think about that if there's any more. But basically, I will write any ticket because that's what I do. Or that's what I did when I was on the road. Can you ride a 200cc bike on the roads with a triangle? No, a 200cc bike is not a slow-moving vehicle, despite the fact that it is not a race-ready bike necessarily. But no, a 200cc bike is a motorcycle. Actually, a 50cc bike is a motorcycle and requires license, ownership, and insurance, and you will be charged for riding any of those things improperly, or at all in some cases. And if it's a dirt bike, it can't be anywhere. What is this? Can you cut to the front at intersection with a motorcycle? So you're talking about lane filtering. Legally, no, you cannot. A lot of people suggesting it's a good idea, but it's not legal. What is this? So Chase, following up on this concept of left U-turns at left turns, listen, he's saying, so could you hold up traffic while waiting to make a U-turn at an intersection that is usually only goes straight? Applicable charges. If you're interfering with traffic, if you're causing a problem, if you're failing to continue to go on a green, those are other charges, and all of those things are up for grabs. But if we're talking about a perfect world where there's nobody around, it's safe to make a U-turn, and you're not holding up traffic. That's where I was going with that. So yeah, you can't hold up traffic. You can't just stop in the middle of the road because you want to make a U-turn and stop everybody behind you. That would be a different situation. I don't suggest U-turns, by the way, ever. U-turns are not a safe practice. And driving instructors on TikTok have come out and said, well, it's not unsafe to do a U-turn. Sure it is. It is also one where you have 100% liability. You are turning and you end up in a T-bone situation. You caused it. You get charged. No question about it. Can a person be caught for speeding if they go at 120 kilometers per hour in a 100 zone when they're merging into the highway and then they slow down to 100 right after that? Yes, you can. You're never allowed to exceed the speed limit. I tried to make speed and exceed the one word. You can't speed for any reason ever. And why would you need to go faster than the flow of traffic? And the flow of traffic, if it's exceeding the speed, go slower, let them pass you. You're never allowed to exceed the speed limit. There is no permission afforded to an individual other than a police, fire, and ambulance operator. What is this? When pulled over, can I drive to near gas station for safety? If you're already pulled over, stay pulled over. If you mean when being pulled over by police, you want to shop for better parking, no. You pull over to the edge of road or nearest curb, and you stop. If you feel unsafe, ask the officer if you can relocate, and if they give you permission to move, then move. But if you do not stop when police pull you over, you can be charged, and that would be an escalation of events. Don't do that. Hey, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service. I talk about social media but mostly I talk on social media about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. So if you've got questions, we've got answers. Ask them in the Q&A section on the apps, because we're on LinkedIn. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram, but we're also currently broadcasting on YouTube. We're on Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're even on Twitter, but Twitter can't hear us. We can't hear Twitter. They can only hear us. So if you're on Twitter and want to ask us questions, jump over to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or any of the other apps. You can get to even our Volley server, and Volley is available through my link tree. How do you get to the link tree? trafficcop.ca. Coffee time. Are there still Coffee Time franchises? Does Coffee Time still exist? That's a place I used to go to. Let's see here. I don't think I've seen a Coffee Time in a long time. Can you surrender a photocopy of your insurance? No. Your original slip or an electronic app, a delivery electronically, an app from your insurance provider that has your insurance. And from the thanks to Chase, who posted the verbiage, which simply states, as I scroll back, the electronic insurance card must be a downloadable product, and must include the capability for email transfer of the card to law enforcement or other party borrowing the vehicle. Electronic insurance card must be a downloadable product. So interesting. As I read that, I wonder, do they mean PDF? I don't know if they mean PDF. My understanding was it was through an app. But downloadable product could be a PDF if you interpret it that way. All these things would be interesting to discuss in court. I actually want to get a definitive answer there. Let's see here. What if I get caught driving a G1 or with a G1 at 3 a.m.? I assume without a qualified driver, supervising you as required by law. Well, then you get a ticket for driving unaccompanied. You get a 30-day suspension on your first conviction, a 90-day on your second, and you get kicked out of the program on your third. Bad things to do. You're also not covered by insurance in the event of a collision. You're not licensed, and you'd have to apply walk home or taxi it. Who has more authority, RCMP or Toronto Police Department? Well, we are Toronto Police Service, not department. The RCMP is a federal jurisdiction, but they're police officers just like us. I don't think they have any more authority, although they have jurisdiction that goes beyond us. Like, they wouldn't show up and say, "Hey, we want to do your investigation," because we would say, "Go for it, dude." We would, cops don't argue about taking over cases. We argue about who's giving away cases. No officer has ever argued to say, "But I want to do all that work." We say, "Go fill your boots," because realistically, that's what would happen. What we got here. Can you blow back smoke with your diesel pickup? It happens. Are you legally allowed to produce excessive smoke? And no, it's not something you can intentionally do, and you could be charged for it. I have 5% tint, but it was built in on the truck. If it's in the passenger or rear passenger or trunk area, that's probably okay. If it's on the windows left and right of the driver, it's illegal. Doesn't matter who built it and how it was done; it's not legal. You would be an unsafe vehicle and not eligible for certification in Ontario, and you could be taken off the road for an unsafe vehicle. 5% means 95% of the light is blocked, which means you can't see very well, and we can't see you, and that would be illegal. What we got here? What is the policy on lenders insurance in Ontario? I have no idea who lenders insurance is. If it's a company, do you mean lending your vehicle to somebody else? What does that mean to you? Laws on window tint. I just covered that. So just to recap, I'll do the window tint thing. Window tint. Nothing on the windshield, save and except for vehicles that are manufactured before 2017. They can have 3 inches or 75 millimeters at the top of the window down to the PS1 line, whatever happens first. Again, no tint. You cannot be looking through tint on the windshield. That would be something where you'd be pulled off the road for unsafe vehicle. Bad day at the office. The windows left and right of the driver, those can be tinted no more than 30% light blockage, which means 70% of the light has to get through. And if it is darker than that, unsafe vehicle, lose your license plates. If it is legal, 30% or less than 30% blockage, then it still cannot prevent police or the public from seeing inside. You cannot obscure the interior of your motor vehicle with color or reflective tint. Reflective tint is not permitted on those windows because we have to be able to see if you're wearing a seatbelt, if you're using your phone, if you're drinking alcohol, or to identify the driver. If you can't do it, it's against the law. You will get a ticket for $110. What do we have here? I hope that answers your question about tint. Back windows, by the way, do whatever you want with them. As long as you got appropriate mirrors to see behind you, you is okay. Is it legal to record cars for not stopping for school bus flashing? It's not illegal to record it. Whether or not we can act on it is a different story. Now, laws have been amended to give owner responsibility, which means that we would be able to, if police or the jurisdictions that are performing essentially a red light camera, but for school buses, they can currently go and charge the owner of that motor vehicle. But can we do it based on your video? Likely not. But it depends. It's possible that you would capture enough information to do it, but I would not suggest advertising that. Hi, I'm taking pictures for the police. Mind you, maybe that would really change people's behavior. Way too many people mistreat and misuse and act inappropriately in and around school zones and school buses. We need to protect our most vulnerable. And those happen to be kids in most cases. TPS ticketed me for a color photocopy of ownership. If you didn't have the front and back and it wasn't a current valid copy, if it wasn't in registration, then it wouldn't be valid. A color copy is not against the law. You can totally have a copy, but there's got to be more to that. Because if you gave them a copy, that you surrendered a reasonable copy. It doesn't say black and white or color. It says a copy, photocopy. And it says, but it does say true copy, which means front and back. Interesting. I want to know more. What are your thoughts on a digital copy of a driver's license? When it becomes law, it'll be law. Until then, you have to have your actual card and surrender it for reasonable inspection of a police officer upon demand. Can a G2 driver drive anytime and in any highway? Yes. The only conditions of a G2 driver in Ontario or wherever they operate a motor vehicle they have to have 0 BAC, which is blood alcohol content, no drugs, no alcohol. During the hours of 12 and 5 a.m., they can, in the first 6 months of being licensed, they can have no more than one person under the age of 21? Under the age of 20. Under the age of 20, I believe, other than immediate family. And in the second 6 months, they can have no more than 3. I want to look that up now. That's what I think it is. Let's see here. I'm going to look up at the HH. I've been reading and talking to people about England, so now I want to say H. I don't know how to pronounce H. I say H, not H, but anyway. It's a British thing, I think. All right, what are we saying here? G2. So, under 20. A G2 driver for the first 6 months, I'll read you the section or the wording. It says, the holder of a G2 class driver, holder of a class G2 driver's license who has held a valid G2 driver's license for at least 6 months may drive a class 2 motor vehicle on a highway subject to the following conditions. The number of passengers in the motor vehicle must not exceed the number of operable seatbelt assemblies installed in it. Between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m., there must not be more than 3 passengers in the motor vehicle who are under the age of 20, other than persons who is a member of the novice driver's immediate family. Than a person who is a member. I was thinking that didn't read right. Sometimes I read so fast I don't actually read. What do we have here? Can you get a ticket for going 40 in a 50 zone? Why? Why would you get a ticket for? That's not illegal. If you are doing it for no reason, 10 under is not. I would say that would be inappropriate to charge someone for 40 in a 50, because that is a reasonable speed to drive, especially if it's raining, inclement weather, stuff on the ground. There could be a million reasons of why you're going so slow. 30 in a 50 might be unnecessary slow driving, but 10 under I don't think would qualify. Why is stunt driving on private property illegal? Primarily because stunt driving is dangerous and shouldn't be done anywhere because you could hurt yourself or somebody else. And we're a country that takes care of people who do that. Let's see here. Got a question coming in from Volley. That's not what I want. I want the Volley. Give me Volley. Volley is a platform that allows for video, voice, and text to be sent to me. And, well, you can use it by going to trafficcop.ca. And when you go to trafficcop.ca, there's a button that says, ask me a question on Volley. All right. Someone suggested, it was Michael who suggested that I get a sample license to show 4 dots. I think you're right. I think I'm going to print out a color copy of a sample driver's license with those 4 dots. Michael sent a map. I don't know what the map is. Chase. Let's see here. Okay.
Sean, so earlier on Volley, you told someone that since they have a GM2, they can still have a blood alcohol level while driving a car, even though M2 you can't. So I had a similar situation a few months ago, and the MTO told me that once you have an M2 license, you're now a novice driver again. And this is the message they sent me.
You are considered a novice driver, yeah. So if you have a GM2, you are deemed to be a new driver in the novice class, which means that you have to have a 0 blood alcohol level, whether you're driving a motorbike or a car.
It's not accurate. I don't know. It's not accurate. You don't become a novice. If you have a 30 years as a driver when you're driving a car, you are still a driver driving a car. Your novice conditions only apply when you are driving a motorcycle. But you know what? Based on that, I want to have a conversation with the MTO because one of us is obviously wrong, and I think it's them. They can't take away all your experience and make you not. You're a novice on a motorcycle. That's it. Okay. But I love that that's what you got. And I love that you included the voicemail. I think it's fantastic. Or the discussion. Michael says, I think I heard a question about a G1 at 3 a.m. in the morning. G1 may not drive at that time. Right. A G1 can only drive outside of 12 and 5 a.m. That's the condition time. G1s shouldn't be driving. And G1s cannot drive if the supervising driver is under the influence of alcohol or drugs. They have to have a blood alcohol content under 0.05, which is what would be legally permitting them to drive. If they're not sober, they can't supervise just because they can't drive. Michael sent me a map showing coffee time locations. I'm not going anytime, but I just think it's been a long time since I've seen one. But thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that. That's very fun. That is fun. We got a great community here. Thanks, everybody. And by the way, we had 600,000 followers today, at some point today, which is really cool. So thank you to everyone who participates and follows and spends time with us because 600,000 is awesome. I mean, now I want 1 million, but 600,000 is obviously a really good start. It's exciting. We do this stuff all the time. We invested obviously a lot of time and money into social media and developing a program that supports this kind of education. And it's really nice to be recognized by you, the people who are choosing to participate with us. Can I drive with headphones in ear music calls? Yes, you can. Now, certain provinces, certain jurisdictions require you to have one ear exposed. Ontario is not one of them. You can actually have only you can have both ears covered. Now, if you are going to have one put, then you would have what is it called? If you're going to have both on, I would suggest having a pass-through turned on. I wouldn't want to have my ears plugged, but hearing is not a requirement of driving. What is this? Chase sent me a picture. What is he saying? Under Ontario's zero tolerance law for young, novice, and commercial drivers, you cannot have any alcohol systems if you are an M2. I understand what you're saying, but you're not an M2. You're a GM2. And GM, when you're operating under the G versus the M, that's my conversation. That's what I'm talking about. You're operating a G class license. You're not a novice at a G. You're a G. But anyway, we'll have greater discussion about this because I want to make a movie about it. All right. Is camber illegal? Camber can be illegal, and camber can be incredibly unsafe, and stretch tires are also unsafe. And so depending on the amount of minor camber is done for racing. It's intentional, minor degrees. But if it's taking your contact patch and having you roll on the side of the sidewall, well, that's not safe. Odometer tampering on a used vehicle. Is it illegal? Yes, it is illegal. Is it something that Happens? Absolutely it happens. In fact, I was watching a TikTok where, who was it who was doing it? Somebody was showing just how easy it is to tamper. That's why I want to buy vehicles from trusted places. I don't want a curbside. I want to buy used. I want to buy from a dealership who I can go back to and say, you're responsible, because that's what I want. Let's see here. Okay, we talked about this from Raj earlier. I can remove that question. Okay. What we got here? Oh, something I want to mention because I've been trying to mention it on a regular basis. One, if you get into a collision in the city of Toronto, like I did last week, someone rear-ended me, do you know when you have to report? Do you know when you can just shake hands and say goodbye, when you can make a deal on your own? Do you know what that threshold is? $2,000. If the total damage between all vehicles involved is or in excess of $2,000, it is a reportable collision by law. You have to. You can be charged for not reporting. So when the taxi driver who hit me said, I don't want to report, I want to pay, I said, well, actually, you have to report because he damaged his hood, his front fender, his bumper, like everything. At least $2,000, if not $5,000 or $10,000 damage. In any case, law. Got to do it. Now, if someone's injured, can they go to the collision reporting center? Well, in this situation, no injuries, but $2,000, collision reporting center. Don't have to wait for the police. In fact, if you call the police, they're going to refer you to a collision reporting center. You have to have a collision, on-scene collision investigation in certain situations. Primarily, the easiest one is going to be if someone goes to hospital by ambulance. Obviously, if someone is involved in any criminal activity, impaired driving is a situation. Someone doesn't have insurance, doesn't have a license. Those are situations where we're coming to you. But most minor collisions can just go to the collision reporting center, which is great. And I talk about this as a lead up to the fact that the collision reporting centers in Toronto have new operating hours. They're now open 2 hours longer. They open at 8 instead of 9, and they close at 10 instead of 9. So that's 7 days a week for your convenience if you have to go. Now that applies to the two locations, the north and the east. And if you go to tps.ca, you can get information about what to do and more details about reporting a collision. If you are a cyclist or a pedestrian in the city of Toronto involved in a collision and want to make a report, you can go to those two locations, but it may be more convenient to come visit me here. Not me, but the people downstairs. 9 Hannah is a location only available for pedestrians and cyclists. Chase says, when Sean gets stumped after 2 years of him doing this, you know it's a unique question. I love the unique questions because those unique questions trigger the conversation for learning more. And I want to learn more. I'm always learning. Josh Tao says, what's the context for GM2 question? My drive test person once told me that if my license class has any numbers, that it means no alcohol. That is the easiest thing, but they're designations, but they apply to the vehicle being operated. Anyway, we're going to talk more about this. But yes, if you have a G1, a G2, an M1, an M2, and a G1 or an M1L or an M2L, those are all situations where you're a learner. And if you even have a G means no alcohol if you're under 22. Yeah, you have to be 22 or older to have any alcohol in your system. So even if you have a G, it doesn't mean you can drink. And really, there's so many good options for driving. If you're going to go out and party, have fun. Don't drive. Don't drive. Hear me now. Okay. Can USA see my license information is record? Yes. We have reciprocal agreements with many states, and in most cases, they talk to us. And you know what? I call people. If I really need to get information, I will call. I will pick up a phone, reach out and touch someone. I will call, and I find out great information. Sometimes it's a language barrier. I've called Montreal police because the return I got was in French, and I don't speak French. So turns out the officer I spoke to didn't speak English, but that was a different story. No, I've had great success, and absolutely we can share information. And points translate between provinces and between most states. Traffic ticket on fight No response 6 months. Okay, you want to fight a ticket and there's no response, even though you filed. I would check with the courts. It is possible that you are still in queue waiting. It is not unreasonable for that to be the case. There has been a tremendous delay as a result of COVID. So don't give up. But I would contact if you have any concerns. Is it illegal to avoid a ride program? It's called a clue. That's what impaired drivers do. So if you are avoiding a ride program by U-turning, we will usually pull you over. And we usually have vehicles waiting for you to do that because obviously impaired people don't want to get caught. So if you are turning around to avoid a ride program, expect to get pulled over with your own personal ride experience. That's marketing for you. Okay. Is odometer tampering illegal? We covered that. Yes, it is illegal, of course. Can the MTO pull you over for speeding? I believe that they can. I mean, they can do inspections. I believe they can also do speeding. They tend to focus on inspections, but they do have authority to pull you over, so pull over. And if they didn't have the authority, well, guess what? You'll have an edge in court when you defend it. But I believe they have that authority. They can pull you over to check your vehicle. Why can't they check you for speeding? I don't know if they even do speeding, but I'm assuming they might. The MTO focuses primarily, I think, on now they do their speed enforcement for big trucks. I think to make sure that they're not traveling over their governor speed. So they must do speed enforcement. Anyway, now I'm stumped, Chase. Where are you with the answers? Chase wants to know it says, what color lights do the MTO vehicles use and can they speed? I don't know if they're allowed to speed. I imagine they would have some authority in that regard, but I've never looked it up. And what colors do they use? I think they're solid white. I don't think they have blue. I don't think they have blue. I think they're red only. We talked about this from James. They want to know if they can get a ticket for unnecessary noise with a factory exhaust. We covered that a little earlier in the show. Oh, you know what we didn't do yesterday? We didn't have any dad jokes. You guys ready for dad jokes? I got the 10th and I got the 11th. I got 2 dad jokes and no Sergeant Campbell, which is usually my partner in dad joke time. But we can do it without him. Unless this consensus is, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Hang on. We're going to say here, we're going to do a quick poll. Remove pinned Q&A question. Yes. Here is the question. We're going to say, I have to remove. Hold on. I have to take the question down. Now I can say, we're going to say here. What am I going to say here? Delete poll, delete poll. I want to do a new poll. Okay. Dad. 2 dad jokes. I got to type this out. 2 dad jokes now. Or 3 dad jokes tomorrow. Why can't I type? Tomorrow. Today. Tomorrow. Start. I just put up a poll. Answer. We got 5 minutes to answer that question. And essentially, the question is, are we going to wait for Sergeant Campbell to come back to do dad jokes, or are we going to do them today? Oh, and Sergeant Kulik is joining me. Ooh. Hang on, I got to give you a microphone once you're ready. If you can grab that one and pull it down, way down. Oh, you got that one? Okay.
There we go.
There you go. You got Mike.
No dad jokes for me. Maybe mama jokes.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do a dad joke yesterday, so I've got a dad joke. I got 2 dad jokes, but I put a poll up, so we're going to see what TikTok. Richard says, "Bring on the dad jokes." Well, we got 1 vote from Richard, but we're going to see what's going on from everybody out on TikTok land, and we'll let them decide. We'll let them run the ship. We've had a long show. We got in the last 10-minute stretch, but we've been going since 9:30, and I'm like, wow, why does it feel like we've been going forever? Because we've been going forever.
Yeah.
An hour and a half of yapping.
Your mouth is gonna need a break.
I got the water, I got the coffee, I got everything going on at once. It's been a lot, but it's been good. Jerry was fun this morning, and apparently there's some stuff going on in the States with air travel delays. They're having some problems, so I gotta go listen to his show and find out what the story. They had to do some updates, and they were speaking to somebody from somewhere about something.
Oh, There's always delays. Baggage delays, lineup delays.
Why even travel with luggage anymore? I think you just buy everything there and throw it out and come home on the plane. Like, you shouldn't even carry a bag because it takes time for thing. So far, look, 73% are saying dad jokes today. Yeah. Chase wants to know, what class constable am I? I'm a first class constable. So when you start, you're a fourth class, and you go to third class, second class. I am now a first class and have been for some time. Chase says, today, Sergeant Campbell usually brings his own anyway. That's a very good point, Chase. Apparently all U.S. flights were grounded.
What?
That's something serious.
Uh-oh. Something's going on.
It's the first time since 9/11, according to Chase. That's newsy. That's newsworthy. I guess I'll be doing some reading and listening once we go off air. Let's see here. Let's see. Do we wait any longer? I think it's.
I think you just got to do it.
I'm ending the poll.
Pull the Band-Aid off.
Is that 72.5% said, let's do it today. Okay, dad joke time. January 10th dad joke was, this is from the calendar my wife bought me for the holidays, snowmen can lose weight so easily, the pounds just melt away. Ba-dum-dum.
Wow.
That's a fantastic joke. Yeah. I wonder if they have to, are they in ketosis?
Is there a better one? Or
Well, we'll see. That's actually pretty good compared to the last couple. The last few days have been pretty horrible. Okay. January 11th. Today's dad joke. Today's the 11th. Doctor, I've swallowed a spoon and I need to get it out. All right, just sit down here and don't stir.
Oh, my.
That's really bad.
Oh.
Just sit down here and don't stir. That's not even good. These are really bad dad jokes. But there's one a day, so I try and do at least one a day. In the weekends, Mondays, we get two because, is it 2 or 3? There might be 2 on one page. I don't know. There's one card for the whole weekend. Anyway. Let's see. Oh, somebody's answering questions. Cool. We got the Croissant Army. Have you heard about the Croissant Army?
No, but I like croissants.
Well, that's the thing. It's an emergency service. I think it was a sleepy paramedic. He started a thing, and he was basically telling people to go and leave croissant emojis on different people's profiles. And it's mostly emergency services people that are participating in it. So we know we have a friend there. Well, mind you, it could be anybody who's doing it now. Apparently the FAA is back up, but they had a glitch, according to Toronto. What is your user account? Toronto Metal Mom. Right on. And peace, no pastries. Or no peace, no peace, only pastries. That's the slogan? Okay. Cool. Shane's throwing some croissants here. How many inches can my tires stick out is a question. So they have to be covered. They have to be covered by fender or extension, and they have to have mud flaps. You can't really stick out. I've been told by a mechanic 1/4 of an inch is the maximum. I haven't found that on paper anywhere else, but that was discussions as I continue to investigate, because there are vehicles that have the entire wheel
And I always
exposed.
look at it and I think, oh, it looks so weird. For me, it's not appealing to the eye, but
It's
I guess
kind of
for some
ugly.
it is.
I guess off-roaders, there's a functional side of
Sure.
it. But for street vehicles, if you were to clip a pedestrian, you'd suck them up into the wheel well, it would be fatal. It would be bad. But aside from that, it's not necessarily legal for a myriad of reasons. Like having that wide stance might be over the maximum width of the vehicle, so it could be illegal. There's the rooster tails that you're creating when you're driving in the rain, which is and debris that you're kicking up. Like you're really making a bad situation. I've seen some really ugly ones. I've seen some that look really cool, but generally, I would say it shouldn't be done. It shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
And I had a copper who called in or texted in when I was on air a number of months ago, and he said, I'm retired. I don't know why all these vehicles are suddenly on the road, because apparently it was heavily enforced back in the day. And of course, we're focused on the people who are choosing to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, drive impaired. But it still means those things should be enforced. There's no reason to let those things go by. But, maybe when we get those 200 new officers, we'll be able to focus on sticking out tires. Tires that stick out. What is this? Can you cut in front of a bus to turn right at an intersection? Wait behind the bus. Don't cut anybody off. You're looking to create a collision, and if you're changing lanes in front of a bus to make a lane, you're probably looking for trouble in terms of whether it be a collision, hitting a pedestrian that you don't see. Like it's a recipe for disaster.
And remember, those buses have blind spots too.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So just because you start to make that move, if you're in that blind spot, that operator might not see you initially, and there could be potential for a collision or something. So not a good idea.
Not a good idea indeed. Snowman is losing a lot of weight with this weather. It is weird. Like I paid for snow removal. I haven't paid for snow removal. I've been doing my own snow removal, and I have a nice machine that I couldn't find the keys. So when I saw a guy, it was terrible snow. I saw a guy cleaning a neighbor's driveway. I said, "Hey, you taking on more customers?" Because I had like a 1 foot incline. I had to be in 4-wheel drive to get up my driveway. He said, "Yeah." So I gave him a check, and he's my snow guy. And the next day, it all melted, and I haven't seen snow since. And you're welcome, everyone. You're welcome.
Hashtag money not well spent.
Yeah. Well, I want snow just so I can experience the joy of getting my value, my money's worth.
And he's in the Caribbean right now,
He's
living
on
off your check.
Let's see here. Can you have AirPods in your ears while you're driving? Yes, you can. In Ontario, in different jurisdictions, they may prevent you from wearing both ears, but you can have them here. Is it the best thing? It's a distraction. Does it prevent you from hearing nice clues like screeching tires or revving engines or things that could be indicators of an impending collision? Yeah, but according to law, driving doesn't require hearing. People who are deaf are permitted to drive. So you can block both ears, but I wouldn't suggest it.
And even as a pedestrian, it's okay to listen to your music and everything, but it's always best to keep it at a very low tone because you want to hear everything that's going on around you if you can, if you have that ability to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If I gave you an opportunity to get an extra ticket to win the lottery, you would take the extra ticket. You wouldn't say, no, you keep that for yourself. Well, having that ability to hear what's going on around you is that extra ticket to save your life. So, I would take the ticket. I would take the opportunity. Just like wearing reflective clothing. People say, well, it should be the responsibility of the driver not to hit me. I'm like, yeah, but if you're dead, there's no benefit there. But if I wear that reflective clothing or bright colors and pay attention and not be using my phone when I'm crossing, all these things just increase your odds of safety. Doesn't guarantee anything, but it makes it better. And the driver is still responsible for what they do, but these, try and make it better. Try and make it safer. I don't care who's at fault. I don't want to get hurt.
It's the little things that add to increase your odds of a safer travel.
But I want to be safe. At the end of the day, it's important for me to get home to my family that I care about and I think they care about me. So it's all about everyone getting to where they started in the morning or where they're going to at night. Are traffic quotas a real thing?
No.
Oh, come on. I've yet to receive a toaster or a free trip to the Caribbean. There is an expectation that we do our jobs. If I'm a traffic officer and I don't go outside and write traffic tickets, I'm walking around with my eyes closed because there's infractions everywhere. If I don't write a ticket and I've got nothing else on the go, what am I doing? How am I improving traffic safety? That's part of what we do.
And we're not out there, looking all the time to give you tickets for every single thing. Education is part of it too.
Yeah.
So we may stop you for an offense and find out there's 3 or 4 other offenses. We may give you one ticket and educate you on all the other items.
Sure.
Or, it just depends on the situation. But we definitely don't there's not a set number per day, but you're expected to go out and do that job and do it well. And, in the end, it's all public safety. And that's what's the most important thing.
And I was famous for pulling someone over. And, I pulled them over for one thing. And I ended up with a 2-hour investigation because they had no insurance and they had no license. So we end up with one simple thing, the heat score that pulled them over. And now I've got the whole afternoon burnt because I got a big investigation. I don't get in trouble for only writing 1, 2, or 3, or 5, or I didn't write 50. It's all positive interaction, positive policing, or in this case, maybe not so positive for the person getting the tickets, but it's doing work and not hanging out at Timmy's. What is the fine for a G2 driving on a highway? The fine, I'm sure many of you are rolling their eyes back going, oh, this is a big one, because there's no fine. You are allowed to drive on the highway with a G2. G1, however, is not allowed on the highway unless they're accompanied by a qualified driving instructor. That is someone that is a licensed professional driving instructor, not mom or dad or friend. If you are a G1 driver, you can't just drive on the highway with a speed limit over 80. G2 can drive anywhere, can drive interprovincially, can drive into the United States. They are a probationary driver. They have conditions, but can basically do everything a G can do.
And I would recommend that first couple times that you go on the highway with your G2, you may have done it once with your driving instructor. And I know that firsthand from my children that in all your lessons, you get that one opportunity, which really isn't enough to show you how the highway works. So, if you can find someone that's been on the highway several times when you start out with your G2, then go for a little drive with them and get a little more comfortable. And then when you do it yourself the first time, you will feel like you've been doing it forever.
They had a follow-up question that said, what is the fine for driving on the highway? It said high, but I think they got cut off because high is a criminal charge. That's a different story. But driving on the highway, if you are a G1 breaking a condition, it's $110 for breaking a condition, and it comes with a 30-day suspension on your first conviction, a 90 on your second. You get kicked out of the program on your third. But if you're a G2, again, there is no fine because it's not against the law. What do we got here? We're actually at 11 o'clock. The hour and a half that took forever to get to the first point has now just disappeared. And I want to see if we can close out with one last question, because why not? This is just a comment. It's a question, but a job in police or a fireman? Well, maybe that is the question to close all questions. Many
Depends on
people,
what you really want.
Yeah, you got to do what you like to do. Like, do you like sleepovers and cooking? Then be a fireman. No, I make fun of them because I'm jealous. They have a great program going. They work like half the year, if not less. They do hard work. They also, it's very physically demanding, and I thank them because we're partners on the same team. We all go to the same calls. They go to collisions. They help out. They do something different than I do, and they do it better than I would do it. I don't want to go run up 5 flights of stairs with a hose and put out a fire. They do stuff. I don't like fire. Fire is not my thing. I like cars and guns and stuff like that, not fire. So
it's a very personal choice.
Absolutely. Are they both good careers? Absolutely. Can you, if you want to have a part-time job and become a what's it called, a carpenter and build decks, I think you become a fireman, because they all seem to have landscaping businesses and do things on the side
on all their abundance of days off.
Yeah, I don't have that. I work Monday to Friday like a regular Joe, and when I was on shift work,
we're working all the time.
Yeah, because I was in court all my days off, so it's a very different structure, but definitely an excellent career. See what's good for you. A very personal choice. But if you're interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, check out our website, www.tps.ca/careers. That will give you all the information about all the different jobs. We have civilians, we have uniform police jobs, all sorts of stuff. We're a great place to work. It's a career. It's a career that has many different jobs. You get tired of being a court officer, you become a police officer. That's what I did. I volunteered before I became a court officer as an auxiliary, but there are people who work in parking, administration. We have people who work in the courts. Well, now courts is really a blended general special constable that does all sorts of different things. But there's tons of opportunities. So check us out, www.tps.ca/careers. It has been a slice. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to do it all over again, so I hope you join us. If you didn't get your question answered, feel free to drop a question into our volley. You can get to that by going to trafficcop.ca and clicking the button saying ask of us a question on volley. I can't speak anymore. That's our volley space, and that is a place where you can send video, voice, or text, where a number of people did today, like Chase and a couple of others. So I leave you with the song I leave you with at every show. It's the traffic song, and I love it. It's written and performed by a member of our service who works downstairs in the CIB, and it's awesome fun. Hope you enjoy. See you tomorrow.
Stay safe.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed, and watch your driving. Don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely safely helps the traffic flow.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,